Hello, Nautica residents. My name is Van Smith. I'm the property manager here at the Nautica. I work with Crossbridge. I've been to the property for close to 4 years now. This session is for you, and it's related to maintenance of your suite. So if you stick with me, I'll go over some tips and tricks, all related to maintenance for your individual suites. And this is information you can share with your tenants if you have tenants, and and maybe related to other condominiums if you move to other properties in the future. So I'm going to start sharing my screen here, and we'll get started. Okay, suite maintenance. So in accordance with your declaration, article number 5, we have to kind of differentiate between the owner's responsibility and what the condo's responsibility is for maintenance. Now, a lot of times we get questions at the management office as to, is this part of what the condo's responsibility is, yes or no? So I put together a list of some items here just for your reference. So on the left-hand side, we have some items, the owner's responsibility. Items which really that serve that unit only. So, if it's your fridge, it's in your unit, that's your responsibility. If it's a plumbing system, electrical system, those that's servicing just your unit, then again, that's really the owner's responsibility for that suite. More specifically, we have your heating. So your heating and air conditioning and your venting is through systems that service your specific unit. Plumbing valves, lines, and shutoffs. Again, those are servicing your unit. They're your responsibility. So for example, the main plumbing valve shutoff in your suite is under your control. You cannot control somebody else's unit, and then that becomes your responsibility. Electrical wiring outlets and breakers. So this refers to any electrical system, so where you're plugging your power cords into those outlets, and all the wiring that goes right to your breaker panel, that's all under your control. So that is your or the unit owner's responsibility. Window screens, those are a maintenance item. That's part of it. Appliances I spoke to, and items which you may or may not be aware of, your walls, so your drywall finishes, your floors, and your ceilings all are part of the unit. And so the building doesn't come in and mop your floors or paint your walls. Those are all part of the maintenance responsibilities for each homeowner. Okay, now let's look at the condo's responsibilities on the right-hand side. Condo is responsible for pretty much everything that's outside of your unit, and some other items which we'll talk about here. So your suite entry doors, which get you into the actual property, those are the responsibility of the condo corporation. So the condo maintains those in terms of keeping them consistent in terms of the being a fireproofing door, the same hardware, the same look, which is there. So the condo is responsible for that. The windows on the exterior, those are part of the condo corp's responsibility to maintain and repair. You can imagine you don't want somebody hanging off the side of a building trying to change out a window. This is all done through the condo corporation. Structural components. We can't have people going in and re-engineering or reconfiguring the building with the structural components. So structural components, we're talking about things like your concrete floors, there's walls, you have ceiling. Those are all part of the structural elements. Electrical supply to the unit breaker. So just like the city supplies to a house, the electrical system that goes to the house, if there's no power to the actual house, the city responds to that. So same thing with the condo corporation. There's no power that's getting to the actual unit breaker panel, then the condo steps in and has their electricians figure out what the problem is. Same thing with the plumbing supply that goes to your main water shutoff. That is all part of the common element fees and maintenance from the condo. When it comes to the heating supply, your heat pumps are serviced by water, which is tempered, it's hot, cold, and it's controlled by the building system. So that return and supply piping is all under the control and repair responsibility from the condominium corporation. Okay, so now let's look at the next slide. The next slide is a typical heating cooling system inside of a Nautica condominium. You may have one or two of these depending on the size of your suite. The photograph on the left-hand side is showing you the cabinetry. What's important to know is behind this is where the heat pump's located. And so in this picture, which is good, is there's nothing which is in the way. There's nothing blocking the airflow inside the cabinet. So this is a good representation. The picture on the right is showing you the actual heat pump, which is behind that metal door. From this, we have a few controls. We have a main power switch at the top, and there's a fan switch, and then there's a filter. That filter is something that gets changed out. The condo corporation at Nautica does do this on an annual basis, but you as a homeowner can also change those periodically as well. So you can open up the cabinet, take a look at it, and change out that filter. Okay, some things to look at too when you're dealing with the heating and cooling system is water. So, you know, you can look around your unit, see if there's anything at the bottom. Sometimes in the summer, if it's not operating properly, it will actually freeze. Some of you are familiar with those freezers, and you have to defrost them. The same type of thing applies. These will actually can freeze up and then thaw, and the water is getting onto the floor. So that's something to keep your eyes open for and looking at the unit. Okay, and the next slide is also part of your heating cooling system. What we're showing you here is your breaker panel. And in the circle in the red is the actual breaker that controls the heat pump itself. So in some instances, your heat pump may not be working. You might call the management or superintendent's office, say, we're having a problem with it. We will ask you to see if it's tripped. It needs to be reset. This is what we're referring to. So on your breaker panel, you have to turn those breakers all the way to the off position and then turn them back to the on position. When you do turn off the breaker, you will see on your thermostat, it's pictured here with the number 24 showing your temperature, you will see that display will disappear. So you know that there's no power going to the unit, to the thermostat, the unit is off and resets. So that's something you can also see. Now with the thermostat, the picture that we have here is from the original installation. The thermostat is a specific thermostat for the system. You may have had this changed out with a not a newer, but a different model, which is also maybe programmable for times of day. You can increase or decrease the temperatures. Now, with this one here, very simple layout. On the top, you're seeing a display of 24 degrees. That's your actual room temperature. Now, the way to control the temperature up and down is there's a little two arrow buttons on the right of that, and you just simply press up. You'll see on the screen the numbers will change about 25, 26, etc. And you stop to the temperature that you want. On the bottom, you will see there's a switch which says cool, off, or heat. This is your temperature control. So this is you're going to change with the season. Right now, you are in a heating season, which means you're trying to heat your unit to 24 degrees. So this should be set to the heat mode. And then we'll try and bring up the heat to 24 degrees. You can turn it to off if you go away or don't need it. And you can turn it to cool, obviously, when you want to cool the suite down to, say, let's say to 24 degrees. Let's say it's 26 degrees, you want to cool it to 24, you'll put it into the cooling mode. And then button or switch to the right of that is the fan control. You only have two options. You have automatic or you have on. The one thing to point out is if you have it in auto, it will only run when it's heating or cooling. If you have it in on, the fan will run 24/7, and you will be using hydro to run that fan off of your panel. So your fan is constantly running, the motor's running, and that will be drawing power. Sometimes you want to use this when you need to circulate air for the winter time. Keeps the frost off the windows or those types of things. So you may want to put it on for those specific times. Now you can change out this thermostat. You can get, like I say, a programmable thermostat, but it has to be specific for heat pumps. So you cannot just go to the home hardware store and pick up any type of thermostat and put it up there. You need to talk to the mechanical contractor to see what will work with a heat pump system. Next part of your unit and common issues we have is with your dryer system. Your dryer is made up of a lint trap, which controls lint. There's a booster fan and some other things that are there. So what I want to show you is physically, this is if you can see it through the screen, it might change with the display, but this is a filter trap. And you'll see the photo that's on the left there, lint trap photo. It's actually collected lint. And then you see when it's removed on the bottom right. Now, where is this located? So most of you do know this, but I do sometimes get people that are unaware of this. This is located in where your washer dryer is, and it's up on the ceiling. You actually have a handle on, a little black handle. You pull that down and clean it out. Typically recommend cleaning that every month. If you do a lot of towels or you have pets and things like that, you may want to do that on a weekly basis. Now, don't forget, you may also have a lint trap in your dryer. So in the dryer, that needs to be cleaned typically every couple loads. You'll want to clean that out as well. Now, the photo I'm sharing on the right is not a typical maintenance item, but it's part of the system. It's what they call the booster fan, and that takes all your air out of the dryer and it pushes it out of the building through your venting. So this blower itself is what accomplishes that. It comes on when you're put on your dryer. And when there's a program to do duct cleaning through your own, if you hire somebody in or if the building takes this on, that's where they're going to look at. It's usually located in the ceiling. It can be in your laundry room. It can be in an adjacent closet on the ceiling, typically the bedroom or your entry closet. You'll see a little metal panel and that could be tucked up and behind. Next, I want to talk about the washing machines. Your washing machine is one of the leading causes, not here, but in general in the condominium industry, for floods, for leaks. These are notorious problems for buildings. So I'm sharing with you two photos. The photo on the left, you will see a typical setup. There's a stacked washer dryer, and there's a vent hose in silver, and then there's a black drain hose. So what's important from this photo is that drain hose needs to be in the slot there. So when the water's draining, it actually makes its way to the drain. It's important to know that people store things beside there. So I see a plunger that's there, but you may have placed there other products, ironing boards, whatever it is, golf clubs, that type of stuff. And be careful not to knock these hoses out of that connection. Sometimes they have a little clip to hold them in place, but be mindful that stays into that hole there. Okay. And then on the right-hand side, this is a shutoff. So I can see from this photo, there's a little black handle in the middle. And the purpose of this shutoff is every time you use your laundry, you should be shutting this off. So it stops the water, your hot and cold at the same time from leaving the tap and going to your machine. This one I can see from the way it's installed, the off is in the up position. So right now it's down lower. I would get my hand and push that up, and that would actually close the valve and stop the supply of water. So why is this important? This is important because the left open, there's a lot of water pressure which is coming out of that hose. So if one of those hoses fail, you see the black or two black hoses connected, or the connection to the laundry, that's a lot of pressure of water coming out and going to flood a unit within a matter of minutes. The other important thing I see with this is you'll see the hoses are black rubber. Those should be changed out for the newer metal braided hoses, which are stronger and last longer. So that would be my recommendation to you as homeowners, if you have not changed those out, is to look at changing those and maintenance of that area. Okay. Now, another question I get quite often is, Van, where are the water shutoffs for suite. Are there main shutoffs, and where are they located? So this is a picture of a main shutoff in a suite. You'll see a red handle, and those red handles, right now they're open. And I know they're open because they're in line with the actual pipe. To have the water shut off, you have to turn it perpendicular to the flow. So it'd have to turn it 90 degrees to the way the pipe is situated. And you also see on this one, there's a red and a blue indicating temperature. So red, of course, for hot and blue for the cold. Now, this is a nice little picture and there's lots of space. You can get your hand and move these ball valves. The reality for Nautica residents is this. The location is typically in the master bedroom, and it's in the sink and the vanity. If you open up your vanity doors, underneath you'll see a metal door. You open that metal door, and in behind it, you're going to have the plumbing of the building. You're going to have your metal studs. You're going to have whatever else is behind that. So you can imagine that you're competing for space in some of those areas. So it may be difficult for you to get your hand in there. It may be difficult to turn the valve. So it's important for you to go and check that out before you have your first problem. It's also a good idea to exercise, like move these valves once per year. Make sure that they open and close and that they actually work. So now what happens? You get in there and you turn the hot valve off, and you still have hot water to your suite. Well, something's not working, or your valve's not functioning, or you know what, you go to turn it and it's stuck. It's been 10 years since that's been moved, and now it's seized. What you'll have to do is contact your plumber, and your plumber will be in touch with our superintendent, and they will coordinate. The building will have to shut off that zone. So you and typically probably nine units will also be affected. They'd be notified, and we'd have to shut the water down for that line, and your plumber would have to change that system out. So very important, those are there. Now the next slide shows water shutoffs, and these are, at the actual appliance. So the first one is a photo of a typical toilet. You'll see there's a cord, and you'll see that there's a plunge valve at the bottom. What happens is these ones are a push valve fitting, and they're attached to a PEX plastic type of pipe. You don't see copper on these, and you simply push and pull to open and close those valves. Now, if you do have a problem with the toilet, you would typically shut this one off, and that'll kill the flow or stop the flow to your toilet. If that's not holding, you would go back to that main valve and shut off the main valve, and then that would stop the flow to that toilet. Now, the picture on the right is a typical install where you have a vanity or sink. So it could be the bathroom or the kitchen. There is a hot coming in and a cold coming in. And you will see that usually it's a competition again for space. So it's under the sink, let's say the kitchen sink, and you've got your garbage can, you've got other stuff in there, you got cleaning supplies. So before you give a call or call the superintendent, if you don't have hot or cold water at your sink, reach under there, take a look, see if you've accidentally pushed in or knocked one of these valves and closed or done something with the valve itself. So that's a quick little tip for you before you call a plumber or call the superintendent. That's great. I have a next upcoming video on the online portal system, so please join me for that. I'm going to be sharing some tips on how to get to the online portal so you can book amenities, parking passes, check documents, all of those items that we have listed under our online portal system. So join me in the next video for that. Thanks again, and I will see you soon.